Hello, welcome to this evening's event, and on behalf of Dentsply Sirona, I'd like to welcome you. And we're going to be looking at the orthodontic digital workflow. So to enjoy the experience tonight, can I please kindly ask you to mute your speakers during the presentation? And if you've got any questions, then please feel free to pop them in the chat box and we will address these at the end of the presentation. And we'll also have a Q&A, so if you did want to ask any questions verbally, feel free to unmute yourself. And importantly, please enjoy the show. So the main purpose of this evening is to spark your interest in digital orthodontics. It might be something that you're curious about, you're currently providing ortho in the practice, but you're using traditional analog methods and you want to see what digital could offer you. And we hope to provide you with enough information this evening to make that step. So briefly looking at our agenda, after an introduction of your virtual hosts, I will walk you through the main topics, with it being it's time to go digital and how will this trend impact digital orthodontics. We'll then invite our guest speaker to share his insights and we'll take a look at a practice that has embraced digital technology. We will then discuss how to pick the right digital orthodontic solution and the criteria you should consider before investing into any technology. And as a part of that, we will demonstrate an example of a Dentsply Sirona workflow involving a prime scan, Axios and SureSmile. Finally, we will talk about your digital journey with Dentsply Sirona and our commitment to delivering next generation technology and innovation to advance patient care. So from Dentsply Sirona, you have myself. My name is Libby and I'm the SureSmile Clinical Implementation Specialist for the north of England and the East Midlands. I'm not a clinician myself, but I do have the experience with working alongside clinicians on a daily basis who are making that step into the digital workflow. I've been with the company for just coming up to 2.5 years now, and I've been working with SureSmile the whole time. And I'm also the UK and Ireland internal SureSmile trainer. So I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Dr. James Taylor. James is one of our leading SureSmile providers and utilises a completely digital orthodontic workflow in his own private practice in Leeds. James is a pioneer of using digital imaging in orthodontics, which I'm looking forward to hearing all about later. As you can see from James's biography, he's a well-established clinician with certificates in implantology and orthodontics gained from Warwick University, amongst other achievements. So let's continue with tonight's agenda, and it's time to go digital and look at how this digitalization trend will impact orthodontics. So what is happening in the industry? Observing industry trends is paramount for the strategy of any practice owner. The digital orthodontic market is anticipated to grow. This is mainly due to technological developments, but more importantly, patients are becoming much more aware of their oral health and also the aesthetics of their teeth, with increased number of Zoom and Teams calls, and of course the rise of social media. And in 2018, the global orthodontic market was valued at just over $4 billion. And by 2026, it's expected to be worth just shy of $10 billion. Looking specifically at the clear aligner market, it's projected to grow from approximately $3 billion in 2021 to just over 10 in 2028. So why is this information important for you? It just shows you what a huge market it is. And if it's not something that you're providing at the moment in practice, it's something that you want to start looking into, as there's so much opportunity. So let's continue with tonight's agenda. And I'll now be handing over to our guest speaker tonight, Dr. James Taylor, who will talk about his workflow and encompassing everything into his orthodontics. But before I do that, I just want to look at tonight's poll results. So there should be a poll on the screen at the moment. And we're just getting some results coming in now. So yeah, most of you are excited about how you feel about digital dentistry and why you've joined us this evening. Oh, there's echo. If you don't mind keeping yourself on mute, that is really helpful. Thank you so much. And then we've got the majority of our guests this evening are here to learn about digital dentistry and also to be inspired by the guest speaker. So thank you for that. And over to you, James.
Okay. Hello, everybody. 1 second. Let me just get myself sorted. Can you all hear me? Yeah? Is that good?
Yeah.
Lovely. Let me get rid of that poll. Okay, everyone. Nice to meet you all, or not meet you, but nice to see everybody. My name is James Taylor. I am a clinician. I'm a GDP. I work in Leeds. My daily work varies between currently a lot of orthodontics, restorative dentistry, and a lot of implant work, although I'm not currently replacing, I'm restoring at the moment. But I'm a general practitioner, have been for the last 20 something years since I qualified from Newcastle. I've had my own dental practice, which I sold in 2019, maybe earlier. Started a new business again. So I've kind of developed and evolved with my own practices, both NHS and private, and now we just have our own purely private clinic offering both implant care, orthodontics, which is a mixture of fixed orthodontics and aligner treatments, which predominantly is Sure Smile now. As far as how we achieve the results and the work we're trying to produce for patients, the care we're giving them, the most of the treatment we're now doing is digital, and we've fully adopted the digital workflow with Dentsply using Direct Prime Scan. We did have Omnicam originally, and we used that for many years. We moved straight onto Prime Scan when we could. I think we're one of the first to get it actually a couple of years ago, but it's been brilliant. We also have the Orthofos SL, and we use that to achieve our goals, which are to provide Sure Smile aligners, and with a lot of CEREC and Celtra and other aspects of restorative care as well, using Prime Mill or actually the milling machines that all link in with the Prime Scan. We use Galileo, so we use Astra, and we also have a lab which is authorized with Atlantis, and therefore we're using the full workflow digitally through the Dentsply kind of brands and their whole collection of options as far as digital treatments are concerned. Just generally how we see our care and how that reflects on patients. You know, we want a happy patient, we want happy clinicians, we want the best kit and the best materials and the best environment. And that basically gives us a feedback loop to produce the best for everybody, best care, everybody wins. And what we found with the digital workflow and how we work, and especially using Prime Scan, linking that to our treatments, whether it's implant care or whether it's using Sure Smile, it's giving us what we need as far as diagnosis, treatment planning, and actually providing that actual care to our patients. And I'm going to go through that in more detail with respect to how we achieve that using Sure Smile aligners. So Sure Smile aligners, I like Sure Smile aligners. They're very well fitting, they're clear, they're translucent, patients like them, and they give me the results that I want. These, as you can see, are designed to fit the gum margin, but when they're fit, they really are lovely, and we get some fantastic results, and patients adapt them very quickly and really love wearing them, essentially, because you can't tell they're in there, they're invisible. The workflow is all digital, as we've said. We are using the Prime Scan and we're using the Orthofos SL, and we've adopted both aspects of that as well as photography to mesh everything together to give us the perfect diagnostic tools to give us the end result. And patients really embrace that and can see the benefit of using all those different tools together to give us the desired outcome. And I'm going to go through that in a bit more detail shortly. But essentially, as far as the patient's experience is concerned, it's record collecting, it's treatment planning, it's then giving them the aligners, and then it's the end result. So the patient experience from start to finish is what we provide them as far as the facilities, the environment, the staff. But a lot of that is down to the actual the IT and what Dentsply have given us as far as tools to achieve that end result. And that's really helping us both in patient conversion, patient treatment, and in the planning and execution of that care as well. So basically, SureSmile is scanner only, so you can't take impressions and send them. You have to scan them, the teeth. You have to send in the scans through the portal or via STL. And I'll go through how I do that, and I'll show you the workflow, both in terms of the scanning, both to actually completing the software aspects with respect to CEREC Ortho, which is all linked to the whole setup of how you plan your treatments and diagnose and take appropriate measurements, etc. And then how we then get the models back, whether it's what's called the therapeutic model or the diagnostic model, then how we move that through to actually designing the aligners and actually then providing the care to the patient. And I'll show you different cases using different types of treatment planning and different aspects of what SureSmile can offer. It's a very vast piece of software that gives lots of different tools at your disposal to achieve that. And so it's the scan. I use the Orthodontic SL to give me a low dose CBCT now. There's hardly, well, I don't think there's been really any cases recently that I will have submitted to use with SureSmile that I won't have taken a low dose CBCT. And I'll give you more information on that shortly. And hopefully you'll see the benefits of why we do that. That then goes into something called CEREC Ortho, which is the software linked to the Dentsply system. And then that in turn moves into the SureSmile software and allows us to design the aligners and then get them actually fabricated and fit. There's going to be more conversation after me about the actual prime scan. But like I said, we used Omnicam initially. The new prime scan, which has been out for a year or two, is brilliant, very quick, very efficient. And the scan is great. And that'll be discussed a bit more later on with another speaker. This is me scanning an actual patient. And as you can see, the scanner it's really quick. It is quick, and it takes a very, very detailed scan. There's no messing, no faffing, no trying, not too much going back on yourself. It's extremely good. And the quality is brilliant. And you can see very quickly how quickly it's taking the scan. That's the buccal bite. The quality is great. The resolution is brilliant. So I can't say anything other than great things about the scanner. This is the Orthodontic SL. This is the CBCT and APT. It does both. Machine we use to take our CBCT images. And what it does particularly is allow this low dose CBCT, which allows us to take a 3D X-ray, which gives me so many more diagnostic tools. So my diagnostic yield out of a low dose X-ray is massive compared to what I get out of a normal panaural, which again I'm using less and less. And again, I'll show you some examples where it essentially got me out of jail or given me a get out of jail free card by using that. As you'll see from this literature, which is from Dentsply, their Orthodontic SL, the effective dose is as low as a Kefaropan. It's from 3 to 20 microsieverts, depending on the size and of the field of view, whether it's 5x5 or 8x8, and on the actual size of the patient, I guess. But for me, it makes complete sense to use that. The only issue is you've got to obviously report everything, which takes a bit more time, but the benefits of that far outweigh any time issues you can have, because I'm getting such great diagnostic information from that, which beautifully meshes with the actual dental scan and the photography that we'll be taking to give us an amazing diagnostic tool. Again, this talks about, it's from the literature about how the reduced dose is obtained to give that low dose CBCT. So essentially, SureSmile allows the linkage of both the 2D photographs and the 3D scanning and 3D CBCT. And I'll demonstrate that again later. And whether I'm doing, I don't use it for indirect bonding, but you can use SureSmile for indirect bonding. I will be introducing that in my practice soon. And again, using the same software in the same way. So it's really effective, and it's very broad in what it can do and how it can help you. This is CEREC Ortho. CEREC Ortho is a software that the scan that you take with the prime scan goes into, and it gives you a lot of information. It has the predictor. It's a treatment simulation, which again, you can show other proprietary systems have this, as I'm sure you're all aware, and CEREC Ortho has that same proprietary or that same ability to do that in their own way. And it gives you other information. I can have the two sizes directly. I know if there's any width, height, proportion issues, I can then look at, as I'm planning, with exact measurements, know exactly what I need to do. Do I need to add 0.5 millimeter to the medial of the lateral? Do I need to shorten the height of a certain teeth? So I'm getting all that information without having to get my ruler out, etc., to get that information. It's giving me everything I need: arch width, spacing between teeth, everything I would need to basically diagnose a case. This video is after I've taken the scan, showing you how we would then move forward to actually putting the scan into CEREC Ortho, and shows what you would need to do to then send the scan off to SureSmile. So I've scanned the teeth. I'm identifying each tooth with a number as per the tooth. So it's very intuitive and very quick to allow you to nominate the appropriate number to the tooth, doing the lower arch first, then moving to the upper arch. And you can see how the upper 3, the upper 5, the main areas of the arch allow the arch to develop as you're creating and adding those tooth numbers. The software, well, you'll add any appropriate teeth that aren't on there, such as 8s. Excuse me. And then the software will actually identify teeth, check that it separates them. It knows exactly which tooth is which. If it's not showing a full tooth in color, then you can modify that very easily. And then it will mount the scan onto models, onto a full model. I know exactly where I am. I can really look at as you would do with a normal orthodontic case. Models are produced. You can keep those models, look at them at any time, but essentially then you're sending them to SureSmile, and that's really it. That is as quick as that to get your models scanned, detailed, mount them essentially, and then move them straight to SureSmile for them to then go the next stage. And when you're choosing which stage you want to go to, on this I've clicked on the IDB, but essentially there's a do-it-yourself, the DIY system, there's the full service and the advanced diagnostics. I'm not going to discuss advanced diagnostics. Today I'll be discussing DIY and full service. And at the top you'll see the flow, again from the patient information, the case package, the scan data, the x-rays, the exam, the prescription, all these need to be completed for that then to go to confirmation to SureSmile for them to prepare your case and send back some example, or the example of how they feel the technicians in the laboratory are going to get you from A to B. At that point, you can then make whatever changes you like, and then go through the patient, explain to them your plan moving forwards. And again, this is the flow of information that you complete. I get my team to do most of this. I'm only inputting the exam and the prescription, but the patient info, the case package, the scan data, the x-rays and photos are already uploaded and ready. And in fact, the actual scan will mesh with your SureSmile software. So it all links very easily and very quickly itself. So the dental exam is very simple. You're just putting in what's there and what's not. It takes literally 30 seconds to do this. And then we're moving into what's called macros. This is the prescription. They call it macros because, as you can see on the left-hand side, midline arch form, class resolutions, occlusal plane, and special instructions spell the word macros. And looking at one in particular, the midline, you're going to maintain the midline. What are you moving to meet with what? Or are you moving them both independently? And I'll show you later on with a case how I am moving them independently and how I do that and what SureSmile will allow me to do. And again, looking at resolutions, are you using IPR? Are you going to use, restorative adjustment? So you're going to add to the teeth, or you're going to do, let things just move or best fit. 9 times out of 10, I'm not leaving it like that. I'm adding notes. I'm explaining what I'm trying to do, as you can do with special instructions. And at any one of those sections, you can add comments. And the more comments you add, the more likely you're going to get back what it is you intend. So you've sent your information off to SureSmile, and this is what we get back. As you can see, this is the screen, and this is like the active screen with tasks. They'll send me back a list of what I need to go through, and I literally flick through and go through each case, whether it's adding extra scanning, whether it's, well, actually it's not so mental. These are cases that actually haven't been finished yet and sent off. So the scan needs adding, but it just shows you how it's listed. Every patient gets an ID, and you just basically work through your tasks and work through that and check the cases, etc. The plan when I get a case back, this is how it will look. My therapeutic model is the model that the treatment has been is prepared upon, and then the plan is what I will check initially. And this is how I would look at a initial case. This is a first case I would get back. So I'm using this patient who I've not treated yet. I actually took a scan last week. The blue is before, the white is there proposed afterwards. There are some changes I want to make. And as we go through this, you'll see how I look at the individual cases and how I make the changes that I need. As you'll see, not only I have the gum on there, but I have the bone as well. So I can now take the gum away because I've integrated my CBCT in this, and I can see exactly where the roots are within the bone. So I have an opportunity not only to improve the position of the teeth and the occlusion, I can also now improve the position of the roots in the bone. And I know what, and I can see potential hazards and issues that this is going to cause. And this for me is a massive selling point for SureSmile above all other types of aligners at the moment, because, excuse me, because I can look at problems that are going to be arising on the back of issues with tooth position. This case particularly, as you've seen with the lower anterior teeth, I'll just go back and you'll see beforehand, if I can see where I was, look at the position of the teeth. She's very proclined in upper and lowers, and the risk of recession here is extremely high. And if nothing else, I'm going to pop those teeth into a much better position within the bone, and hopefully mean that I'm going to reduce the risk of any recession long term, as well as improving the way her teeth look. Because I'm able to mesh my photograph with my scan, with my CBCT, I can fade the different aspects of that in and out. I can look at the patient's smile. I can then take the outer face away, I guess, and look at the teeth and go down to the bone. So I can look at that whole layering of both the teeth through to, and in all their aspect, whether it's the skin, the face, and the facial aspects, through to the actual bone and how the teeth sit within the arch themselves. If we then move further on, you'll see again, I can now also add other aspects such as the lip trace. So I can look at how the teeth will sit within the lips and look at the comparison of before and after with respect to that. What I'll then do is I'll then have a look in detail at the case in a bit more detail. Take the gum away, look at the teeth, look at certain teeth that I may want to adjust and move. So just watch me make the changes here to the case that I want to do. So I want to move that upper left too, and I can make very fine adjustments to that tooth. In 0.1 of a millimeter changes, both in terms of the vertical dimension and in terms of the buccopalatal. So I can make any changes I want to that tooth in any 3D orientation that I wish. So I've got very, very tight control over all aspects of this case. And that's same with any tooth as well. Any tooth, and also the attachments. You can do the same with the attachments. We can move the attachments in any 3D orientation we wish. Move across here and then to the next one. And again, once I've moved the teeth, I then want to look at other aspects, such as, well, I can see, look at my palatal roots on the 3s. I need to tuck those back. I'm sorry. Just choking. So I've moved those 3s into better position. Although you see the bone is it's got a very thin ridge. So even when I move the roots, it's still a problem. And then I can look at the occlusal contacts and make changes based on that as well. So I've got really exceptional control. And I often take the gum away and just work with the teeth and the bone, because then I'm really looking at the real detail of the teeth, the position. I can also take the bone away and I can look at the roots as well and just see the roots on their own and make sure there's no clashing or interaction of the roots with each other, which, you know, often, especially the lower anteriors, it's very hard to tell from just the coronal aspect where those roots are and what's coming into contact with what. And so we'll just finish off moving through this and see the changes I'm making to the teeth just to improve the position of the teeth, just to improve the occlusion, and just make sure that I'm not going to have any conflicts and any issues there as I finish off preparing the case prior to sending it back to Sure Smile for them to move towards finalizing and preparing the aligners for me. And as you see here, this is what I'm looking at as far as the numbers. So as well as looking at the teeth move, you can see the actual numbers of what you're achieving and what you're trying to achieve. The red numbers are numbers where the movements are actually quite big movements. So things you need to be aware of, and try, if you can, limit those movements. So where I see the red, I'll always go back and see if there's any way in which I can minimize those movements and change the dimensions. I can look at what IPR I need. Now that upper left 2, it's showing me I need 0.7 in the current arrangement. That's too much. So I'm going to go back and modify my tooth position in order to reduce the amount of IPR. So as well as moving the teeth in the right position, I'm getting all the data as well. And I'll always go back to the data and just check what I'm trying to achieve, because looking at just a picture of teeth moving is great, but when you break it down to the detail, it's often when you see issues and problems. And like I said, I don't want to be taking 0.7 millimeters off the lateral, the mesial aspects of a lateral at all if I can avoid it. So let me just go back here. Okay. And then once you've actually got your plan agreed, then it will be staged. This is the staging now. This allows me to look at the plan in detail, and I can look at where my attachments are going. Okay, from all aspects, I can show this to the patient. As you can see, I'm also going to be using class 2 elastics. I've got the yellow slits around between the 2s and the 3s at the top, and the buttons on the lower 6s there. That's going to allow me to wear class 2 elastics just to improve that and to get the bite as well, the occlusion as good as I can, really. So I'll always use elastics where possible. I'm not afraid of that, and I'll show you some cases that I'm doing. I think there's a case later where I'm actually using asymmetric elastics to try and correct a center line. And as you go along each stage, it shows you different aspects of how the attachments relate to the tooth and how the teeth relate to the IPR, and the whole thing just works. And you go through this with the patient, and then your consent process is very, very tight. The patient can see what's happening, they can see what's involved, and they fully understand the workflow that you're proposing for them. Once that's all agreed and you've got where you want to go, you've made your changes, then it's very simple. You can either approve your aligners. What I'm going to do here is ask them to restage it, because I've made some changes to the upper lateral anti-occlusion. So please restage as per my modifications, and they'll just resend it back. There may be a few less aligners, maybe a few more, but they'll restage that for you. And then again, you go through the same process, check everything is as you want it. Essentially, then you can order your aligners and move forwards with the patient's approval. Said the aligners they're lovely, they're very transparent, they're very clear, they're beautifully finished on the edges there, and then they fit great. again, I think I was mentioning, this is the case where we've got, just to show you that his center lines are off, you know, and I'm using asymmetric elastics. I'm using class 3 elastics on one side and class 2 elastics on another, just to improve the center line essentially whilst wearing the aligners. So I will use elastics where possible, and they're beneficial, you know. So and the system allows you to use them as you wish. So before CBCT, before I embraced CBCT, I still got some very, very nice results with Sure Smile. So, you know, I was more than happy because I knew no different. You know, this is a case where there was spacing on the upper, crowding on the lower. She'd had previous ortho, they're still bonding on the teeth. This patient is a doctor in her 20s, late 20s, but yet the bonding is still on there from when she had her fixed brace. So she had relapse. Again, all the numbers are there of what we're trying to achieve as far as the changes. Okay, and we can see the changes we were trying to produce that we were wanting to achieve there, how we're decreasing the overbite, closing the anterior spacing, closing, you know, resolving the lower crowding. And we had a lovely result. It was 18 aligners and she was very happy and it looked fantastic. But essentially I was doing that without knowing what's going on underneath. And I guess when you're doing fixed ortho, you don't really know what's going underneath. But because the tool is now available, I'm using CBCT more and more to integrate the whole digital workflow. So she had fixed retainers at the end, top and bottom, and she was very happy. You know, we improved all these aspects with the aligners, improved the smile, improved the lip support, improved the arch shape, the width, the buccal corridors, the dark buccal corridors are gone, the mean diastema had gone, the overbite reduced, corrected the center line. So she was very happy, and I was very happy. It was a lovely result, and she was great. Another case, again, before CBCT, a lovely result. She had an anterior open bite. She had no lip support, as you'll see from the photos. You know, she had no, she had a crossbite, bilateral crossbite. Actually, it was bilateral. The 3 on that right was in crossbite. These were just almost edge to edge, but the crossbite was on the left-hand side. With the anterior open bite, she was unhappy with her smile. When she was at rest, she showed no teeth. So it's upsetting for an 18, 19-year-old girl. She was really upset by this. And so we looked at what we could do for her. And again, this was just using a pan with the scanning and before and after proposal. Now, if you look at the proposal, I also ensured that I left space between the laterals and the centrals because her teeth, I was reducing the open bite and also expanding, and therefore I needed to improve the size of the teeth. I need to improve the tooth height width proportion. So that was planned in the actual treatment. So when I showed the patient the plan, it was very, you know, I made sure it was very aware. She was very aware that gaps will appear between the teeth, but that's expected and that's what we're planning because we will be bonding. She wanted a broader smile. She wanted the whole, you know, bigger teeth. So the attachments went on at the top. And you see how the open bite's been reduced, how the gaps are opening between the teeth. This is after end of orthodontic treatment. She'd also done some whitening at this point as well, and was proceeding with whitening. And you can see how the predicted, the before and the after predicted is what we achieved. So I'm getting realistic results from the aligners. It's as planned, which is really important. And then we did the bonding just to improve the outlook for her and the smile and give her what she wanted. And it was, you know, for her, it was a huge change. She had a low smile line. So this aspect was the most important part to be bonding. There was a slight difference in color. It was fine because she can't see the slightly darker aspect around the gingival margin. She wanted the incised edges whiter. So that's what she got. And she was overjoyed. She had a much nicer smile, gave her the lip support. And for a 19-year-old girl now, it was as I ticked all the boxes for her. And you can see from before and after with the smile, it made a massive difference to her lip support and to the shape of her smile. So now moving on to CBCT. So I embraced CBCT I think it would have been about 8-9 months ago, I really started using low dose CBCT with my cases. This is actually a dental student who is now, we've completed, and he wasn't happy with his smile, obviously before and the afters. He wasn't happy with the retroclined upper centrals, the narrowness of his smile, you know, the dark corridors that he had, and the color, all aspects really, and also the size of his teeth. And so we looked at all aspects, and what we essentially did is we using SureSmile, we opened up space, so we expanded his arch, but actively increased the size of his teeth using composite bonding, but plan that as part of the case. And you can see that after we'd done the aligner treatment, he was left with spacing. So we actively encouraged space creation to give him increased width. And you'll see in a second, it's before and after, and that's again is before and after we did the aligners, how we expanded, you know, derotated those centrals, gave him expansion, improved the arch width, removed the buccal darkness in those corridors, and then bonded as well to finalize things. If we look at the teeth before and after, you can see again, we achieved what we desired. We got the result we wanted before and after. As you can see, we created the space, and that was the predicted. You know, and we got what we predicted. Again, that's the predicted on the right. The left is what we got, and we got what we wanted to. So I'm getting extremely predictable results from SureSmile. It's giving me what I want, and I can move forwards very nicely with the patient. Again, I'll show you here. This is the SureSmile software showing me the before and after. So that was, you see how we're basically giving a bit more proclination of the centrals, and you know, giving him a wider arch and giving him more lip support as well at the same time. Again, you can use the lip trace using a smile photo, but now we've got the actual CBCT involved. I can go from the whole way through, from both the soft tissues on the outside, his lips, and I can fade it all the way through to the actual gum, and I can go further. I can look at the teeth through the lips. I can do what I want. I have so much control with the software, and patients really like this. It gives you so much control. So again, I can look at the teeth before and after through that whole, again, you know, almost X-ray vision of taking from the outside to the inside of the patient. DIY. So SureSmile allows DIY. This is a case where I didn't do any planning through SureSmile, as in get their technicians to design it for me. I did this all myself. So instead of getting a therapeutic model, you ask for a diagnostic model. So the diagnostic model comes back, it's just the model of the scan, and you move the teeth yourself. So it's a DIY case. This is before, this is after. It was a lovely result. She had a little bit of minimal edge bonding and then whitening, and it was great. And so this is before, this is after, and I'll show you exactly what we did here. So this is after the aligners, okay? This is after the treatment with SureSmile before the bonding. And you can see how we, you know, and while she's doing the aligners, we'll whiten at the same time. And so, you know, it was transformational for her. She completely changed. And again, I made no changes to I don't think from the 4 backwards. It was literally 3 to 3 change. That's all I did. Again, that's after the aligners were finished, before I removed the attachment on the upper left 2. And here you'll see, this was the case. This is the changes I made. I did move the 4, but very slightly on the right. It was just derotation and essentially 4 teeth mainly moving to give me that result. I didn't affect the bite in any way. And so the DIY aligner treatment gives you a really, really nice result and treatment option that saves you having the full case, having to do the full case. And this shows you go through the actual planning stages, how any IPR you're going to do, which I did to create space, you can stage in different stages of the treatment. So at 4, 8, 12, 16 aligner, I'm making changes as I go along, and it shows the IPR, it's showing where the attachments are, and it's showing how that progresses as the treatment goes along. So I've got really tight control over every aspect of this. And again, it's those numbers. You can see the teeth I was changing and moving. So yes, I was moving basically upper right 4 to upper left 2. Okay, in that case to achieve that. But it's a nice option when you don't need to be using a full case setup, and it's less expensive for you as well if you're doing it as a diagnostic case. So there's benefits all around really. And again, before and after. That's how before and after the bonding. Hybrid cases. So I'll use hybrid cases as well. I'll use fixed or lingual braces before I do aligner cases. So I'll go back actually. This is a case where the lower right 3 was very measly crowded out, as you can see, but had a nice tilt on it. So I knew that by removing the 4, I'll be able to tip that tooth back. But that was something that I wasn't confident doing using a liner. So therefore I used fixed to do that. But the patient was particularly bothered that she didn't see the fixed appliance in place. So I had to be a bit clever with how I did this. And you can see the predicted movements initially. We planned to take out the 4, move the 3, but I thought that isn't going to work with a liner. It's going to take me too long. It's going to be too difficult. And so essentially what we did, so I move to the next slide here, is we used a fixed on the bottom on the right hand side with a button on the 3, took out the tooth, and basically just retracted it with elastic power chain. And you can see how we're slowly moving that tooth into the correct position. And as it got further across, we then transferred it into a lingual appliance, because I do lingual as well. I put it into lingual to derotate that canine even further to allow me to at least get into a better position and have a good chance of achieving the final result with aligners. I'm now at the position where the tooth is in the much better position. The 3's here now on the see on this right hand slide. So I've moved it from far mesial here all the way back, which is great. And now the beauty of looking at the case as a whole, as far as the Short Smile planning is, it comes into its own now, because as you can see from the initial scan I've got here, look at this buccal root. Look where it is on the 3. It's buccally placed. The bone is very thin. It's a very thin ridge. And so I've got to plan carefully what I'm going to do with this, and I want to put this in the best possible position. And so, as you'll see in a second, this is the plan moving forwards now with Short Smile. We're going to just complete this case, and I can see where I'm going. I mean, I've got good direction. I can see I'm improving the position of that 3 root. I'm going to tip it and pull it and move it, and it's all going to be enhanced, rather than just do it blind and not know where my final root position is going to be. So not only am I moving the teeth in the right position, I'm ensuring that the root is going in the best possible position within that bone that I possibly can get it into. And for me, that's the added value for of Short Smile. It's giving me that added control. This case, I'm part through. I've almost finished the Short Smile, but this is an interesting case. It's a multidisciplinary one where we're using Short Smile implants. We'll use implants using Astra, and we'll scan using, we'll do it all via CAD again, and then we'll bond at the end. This patient, okay, quite complicated in that he's got his 2 centrals there. There's a big median diastema, deep overbite, missing upper right 2. So the 3's moved into the 2 position. The C is present. So I'll go back. The C is going to be lost at some point. And he's also got the lower right 6 missing. We're going to address that later down the line. But we need to resolve this issue for him. He's unhappy with how it looks. He's unhappy with he doesn't know what he can do. And so I'm using Short Smile to improve things. So, at the problem list, I'll always write a problem list: missing upper right 2, upper right 3 wrong position, retained upper right C, deep overbite, median diastema, missing lower right 6. So I want to close all the anterior spacing. I want to improve the color of the teeth. I want to improve the aesthetics of the upper right 2, which is actually the upper right 3. I want to make it look like an upper right 3. I want the long-term replacement of the upper right 3, which is currently the C. And I want to reduce the overbite. And I want to tick all those boxes that I can. So Short Smile allows me to do this because I can plan everything. So I'm going to align the upper and lower teeth. I'm going to create space for bonding of the upper labial segment. So I'm going to redistribute the space so I can rebond that upper lateral on the left. I'm going to do some bonding on the centrals. I'm going to improve the size, the shape of those teeth. And I'm also going to modify the position of this upper right 2, upper right 3 to make it look more like a lateral. I'm going to whiten him. I'm going to bond. Again, I'll bond the upper labial segment. I'm going to put an implant in this area here where the upper right 3 is, and then I'm going to do long-term retention. So all that is going to be planned, and I'm going to plan it all through my digital workflow. I want correct spacing here. And again, I want to correct the angulation of that upper right 3. And so when we look at what we're trying to achieve, and this is my before and my after, as far as my plan's concerned, and you'll see how what we're trying to do here is not only improve the position of the of all the teeth, you know, I'm creating space between the lateral and the centrals, between the centrals, but enough space that I can bond nicely. I'm not going to make those teeth too wide. I'm going to very, you know, as you've seen what's going on here, we're improving the position of those teeth so that I'm giving myself the best chance of giving him the desired result. So this is where we were when we started in pre-op. This is where we're currently on. I need to have a clean. He's going to see the hygienist next week, but I needed the photos. I wanted to show you. So now I've closed the diastema as well as I need to. I can now bond this really nicely. I can bond the two, and I can bond those really well after I've done the whitening for him. But more importantly, if we look at the position of the 3s, the upper right 3 pre-op and the upper right 3 afterwards, it's been intruded. It's also been, the root position has been tucked in. Look at the glare. There's not as much glare here. It's flatter. So we've removed the bulbosity of the upper 3 root. So for me, that was key to getting the allowing this tooth to now resemble an upper right 2. So I've pushed the root in, and again, I'll show you that in a bit more detail when you look at the before and afters. You'll see what I planned. I did plan to push that the upper 3 in, both vertically inwards, so intrude it, and move the root palatally as well. And I've been able to do that. And if we go back again, you can see how it shows by a flatter, less bulbous ridge. So that aesthetic is going to be a lot better. Once I've done the whitening, once done the bonding, once I've reshaped this lateral, it's going to allow me to have a much better aesthetic outcome. But I thought, although these aren't the prettiest pictures, you can see where my mind is with respect to this. And then once this is all done, we'll extract the 2. We'll do an immediate implant with immediate loading, and you know, he'll be almost finished at that point. So there are a lot of compromise cases, and any case we do, you know, if I'm correcting a patient who, you know, ideally would be, plenty of patients should really have orthodontic surgery, but they don't want it. So it's a compromise case because you're not giving the ideal. What this allows me to do, and the integration of the 3D image and the 2D images, it allows me to make the best of a compromise solution, a compromise situation, essentially. This guy, for example, and this is another get out of jail free card, a huge one, in that he came to see me. He wanted to have his teeth straightened. I thought, wow, this is going to be difficult. You know, he's really class 2 div 2, really difficult case. What am I going to do here? I didn't even get to the point of treating him because as we were going through the scanning and the planning, I took a low dose CBCT, looked okay, nothing particularly exciting on there, other than the wisdom teeth, which weren't of concern to me. As I'm looking through his treatment and his scan, I notice that there's a bit of a defect in the lower anterior region, just below the centrals in the bone. And I'm trying to work out what is going on. What is that defect? Is there something wrong with the SureSmile software? Is something that, so at that point I go to the scan, look in a bit more detail, and I have a look and see what's going on. And we see that looking at the scan, that actually as you work through it, he's got a huge cyst in the jaw. Now, the APT wouldn't have helped me. I couldn't see that. But if I'd have done any type of ortho correction on him, I would have been in major trouble. As it happens, the CBCT allowed me to see that. We diagnosed that, and it's been dealt with. And obviously, he's had no ortho treatment. But, you know, I'll just skip that. We did root canal treatment. That was after day 1. That was day 90. So you can start to see it filling in. But I've done a recent CBCT at day 180. And you can see before and after, the bone is now filling in. And this is why, and this is low dose again. This is a low dose CBCT. Great resolution. I can see exactly what's going on from there. And another angle as well, further along, I can see a huge defect. And look how beautifully that's filling in. So I know now that with confidence, you know, he'll be coming back for ortho. I've no idea what I'm going to do to resolve him. He's going to be really difficult to treat. But what I do know is that I've resolved this issue. And if it hadn't been for the pre-op CBCT, I'd have been in a lot of trouble. Again, another compromised case. This one we did treat. She wasn't happy with her smile and how her teeth looked. Crossbite, very narrow upper arch, you know, retroclined lower anterior teeth. Again, you look at a normal APT, there's nothing very exciting there. But then when you start to look at it from a different angle, you look at, you know, how much buccal bone have I got to move these teeth? If I start expanding, you know, these sixes on the left and start tipping, I'm running out of bone here. So I'm going to encourage recession. And so I'm going to start creating a real problem for myself. And as you can see, this is the area. She's already got recession. You can see why. It's because there's no bone there. And the minute I try and tip this, I'm going to increase the emergence angle. And I'm going to make that even worse. So again, for this case, the CBCT is invaluable. And it's allowing me to plan difficult compromised cases, but plan them in a way which is safe, I feel, for the patient and gives me control. And this was straight after I'd finished treatment. You know, we'd aligned. We didn't touch the upper six on the right or the left. We didn't move them at all. We left them where they were. We did some bonding as well, but we've uprighted the lower centrals. We've uprighted other teeth. We've improved the aesthetics, and she's overjoyed. You know, this was, you know, she was overjoyed basically. But I've done that in a way that's compromised. But it doesn't matter because the patient is happy and they've got what they wanted without me getting what I wanted, which is a beautifully enlarged and expanded arch, which would have given her a real problem down the line or made the situation worse. So again, it just saves me all the trouble and trauma of not having that information that would have caused me a problem. And again, it's which compromises you're willing to accept. And in this case, the compromise was my arch width, but who cares? Because it would have given me a real problem. But had I not known, I would have just expanded that. So using the software with integrated x-rays and scans, I can see the roots move and plan final positions of the roots in the bone. And this is, for me, this is the big difference between how I work with SureSmile and how I've worked with other aligner systems that I've used. And I've used a lot. I've been through a lot of them, and I fell out of love with aligners. You know, I do a lot of Damon appliances and another fixed ortho. And it's only since SureSmile has been on my radar that I've been really using a lot more aligners for my cases. Again, another case, this patient had ortho when she was younger. She had relapse, came to see me, they're moving again, you know, and she's not happy with a little bit of the changing, a little bit of movement of the teeth. So that's fine. I had a quick look. That looks great. He gave me a smile. However, when I pull the lip down, I'm looking what's going on here. So she's essentially a compensated class 2 div 1 case, and that the lower incisors have been tipped so far forwards that they're coming through the gum now. I mean, the recession here, she's 18, 19 years old, this girl, and that for her is a real problem long term. So we could have grafted at this stage, but it would have been, how successful would it have been? There's no bone support. There's nothing to hold the graft in place. It would have ended up being the same not so long hence from when we start. So the idea for her is, look, let's use ortho. We'll correct the alignment of the teeth. And you can see from the scan how far proclined those lower teeth are. And again, the CBCT gives me all this information. You can see how proclined those lower anteriors are. And essentially, you can see there's no bone there at all. You can see why the problem is as it is. So what are we going to do? Well, again, the CBCT again, you can see how there's no bone buckle. I mean, it's a very narrow ridge, but those teeth are just tipped too far forward. So the before we started, and then the plan that we proposed and that we're actually in treatment on at the moment. And you can see how we're going to move those teeth back into the bone. We're going to tip them. We're going to torque those roots into a more favorable position. And that hopefully is going to allow me then to have an area around those teeth with more bone. It's going to allow me to refer her to a periodontist who will then work with me and we'll look at grafting and we'll improve that for us and hopefully prevent her losing those teeth earlier than she should do. Again, you can see now as I'm looking how those teeth are going to be put into a much better position within the bone and hopefully reduce that amount of recession. And so this demonstrates how and why I'm using CBCT more and more. It's as well as anyone can align teeth virtually. That's easy to do. You can do it on a screen. It takes 2 minutes. But I'm spending a lot of time with my cases looking at how the roots and the bone relate to those teeth positions. And so most of my time spending on cases is not looking at the teeth because, you know, we can always make a nice bite, but actually getting those roots and sometimes compromising on the tooth position to get the root position better. And then I'll do a bit of bonding if I need to. I'll reshape something. But for me, this is key now. And this is what I'm embracing and using for my patients. And patients can see this and they understand this and for them it makes sense. And so I'm confident moving forwards that I'm giving people the best possible care that I can. And I'm grateful that I can use this software and this tech to do this. So again, you know, I'm using all this to give me the results I want, both the CEREC scanner, the Orthophos to give me the low dose CBCT, meshing them together, putting them into CEREC Ortho, allow me to do the diagnostic work I want, and then following that in with the Shore Cell aligners. And yes, I have to make refinements. You know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Some cases need more than others. But now that I'm using the actual software to the best of its ability, I'm controlling the movements I'm doing and I'm making the movements easier, which means that moving forwards, I'm going to be having less refinements because I'm making movements easier and in more a controlled way. And those root positions that I can see, I'm making those movements easier for me using tipping rather than bodily movement. You know, and if I need to compromise, I'll compromise, but still giving the patients the results they want. And I hope that was useful. I hope that was interesting. And I'll hand back to Libby. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, James. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak. I'm just going to reshare. There we go. Hang on. Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much for that, James. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak, look through some really fantastic cases, actually, those before and afters. I'm not surprised you've got such happy patients, and it's great to hear that the Dentsply Sirona workflow allows you to treat those patients in that manner. So let's carry on with tonight's agenda and look at how to pick the right digital orthodontic solution for you. For yourself, for your team, and for your practice. And what I'm going to do is work through some tips and hints on what to look for. So if we do look at the workflow and what's involved in it, we've got data capture with digital impression, CBCT. You've then got your treatment planning software, the manufacturing of the aligners, training and education, and then service and support. And what's really important is that no matter what provider or equipment you decide to go ahead with, that you have an open system. So let's break down the workflow, starting with the scanner. Your scanner of choice should be quick and highly accurate. Your scanner should be a tool to enhance patient experience. There's nothing more impactful than showing your patient their teeth on a huge screen blown up, whether it is for orthodontics or they simply just need a fill and replace them. Using digital impressions will increase patient footfall to your practice. We've got studies that show that 84% of patients prefer digital impressions to conventional impression taken, as well as studies showing that it is actually 3 times quicker, saving your time and the patient's valuable time. So when looking at CBCT, scanning and combining both the intraoral scan and the CBCT data will allow you to achieve efficient and reliable planning for orthodontics, which is the key to success, as clearly demonstrated by James's cases shown earlier. So then looking at the orthodontic planning, it should provide a fully digital workflow, and this will make your workflow efficient and accurate, and also save you valuable time, but also predictable results. It should be an open workflow, so your orthodontic planning software should be fully open, and this will allow you to work with any scanner that's on the market. And it should also provide a customer and patient focused approach. For example, treatment plans that you can share with the patient that they understand and relate to, and this will increase patient uptake. So the quality of the aligners is super important. During patient consultations, it gives you an opportunity to show the patients that the aligners that they'll be wearing. And having aligners that have been manufactured using state-of-the-art equipment and industry-leading printers will reflect in the product. And showing the patient the aligners, they'll realise that they're very high-end. The plastic that you use as well is really important. It should be durable, but also comfortable for your patient. So moving on to training and education. Even if a technology is easy to use, it makes perfect sense to have good training on offer, which is ideally led by clinicians. Also, peer-to-peer mentoring, study clubs, WhatsApp groups for support. You also need to check if there's material online, and continuous education. And then linking that in with service and support, hopefully there will be no issues for you going into that digital journey. But if it does come to that, you want to be on the safe side. So you should be able to reach to the customer care service or your local representative quickly with any questions, and also having a large community of users to exchange any challenges or hurdles with will be essential for your success with the system. So now we've gone over the workflow, I'm going to show you some product videos which will illustrate the Dentsply Sirona offering, starting with our latest intraoral scanner, the Prime Scan, then onto our latest CBCT, the Axios, and then finally showing you the capabilities of the Sure Smile software. So Prime Scan is just the beginning of your digital journey, and we have a seamless connection for both the implant and restorative workflow, and of course the important orthodontic workflow. So our digital solutions with Prime Scan span across Azento and Simplant for your implant workflows, as well as Atlantis and InLab for restorative. And last but not least, we have SureSmile aligners for your orthodontic solutions. Now I'd like to play you a short video showing the Axios CBCT scanner. With the integrated software that you get with the Axios scanner, you can make full use of the digital potential of the practice, whilst also simplifying and accelerating virtual communication channels. Finally, I'd like to play a short video demonstrating the capabilities of SureSmile. Now that you've seen Dentsply Sirena Solutions, we're now going to demonstrate our workflow with a couple of colleagues of mine. So tonight joining me, I have Jamie Thomas, who's the CAD/CAM specialist for the Midlands. We also have Graham Parker, who is the national product specialist for imaging, and then myself, who I introduced earlier. So over to you, Jamie.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Libby. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, so hopefully you can see my Connect software in front of you. Could you just confirm that for me, please, Libby?
Yeah.
Excellent. And you can hear me okay?
All good.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is just highlight the workflow in the terms of scanning and sending to SureSmile. But before I do that, what I want to do is showcase to you, the real power of the prime scan. So I've got an analog model in front of me here, and I'm just going to hover over the occlusal surface. And you see straight away the amount of detail the scanner picks up. But more importantly, you can hear the dynamic lens ticking away. It's moving at 10 times a second. And what this does, it contributes to a really detailed scan. So I'm just going to stop scanning there. And if you look at that implant site I've scanned, you can see the depth that it can achieve. And this is achieved through this blue light technology. So it's a shorter wavelength frequency. So we can capture really a lot of data in one easy sweep. Okay. And in terms of capturing different surface textures, I've got a gold hue Atlantis abutment there. And I've also got a zirconia abutment on the anterior portion. And nice and simply, in a short amount of time, it's captured all the information in front of me. And then if I just go to the modeling stage, what it's doing now is filtering through all the data points, it's collating them, and what it's doing is transitioning, filtering it, and compressing the data to achieve a really photorealistic image. So it's capturing a lot of data in high resolution in a short amount of time. And it's really super effective, especially in, the types of indications where you've got some subgingival indications, for example, implant sites or whatnot. And it just really helps to contribute and capture and refine good quality data. So I wanted to just highlight that to you before we began the scan for SureSmile, just to show you, how easy it is to really achieve a good detailed scan. And this is because this prime scan has been stripped down, it's been redeveloped from the bottom up. We reached our physical limitations with the Omnicam, and we developed a new prime scan. Okay, and we have patented technology which contributes to this really detailed and clear and concise scan. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to skip back into the acquisition stage, and I'm just going to unlock the scan and delete it. I'm going to show you how we take a scan for SureSmile. So I've got my lower jaw category selected, and as soon as I pick up the scanner, you can see it's already activated. So this is motion sensor. And as well as that, there's an active heater in there as well. So it's almost, imagine your car demystifying the windows on your car. It works in the same principle, so your screen is not fogged. So I'm going to start on the occlusal aspect. I'm going to rotate sort of 60 degrees, and I'm just going to sweep around the lingual aspect. Then I'm going to go back around the occlusal, and then consequently just round the buccal surface. So as you can see, in 3 sweeps, in a matter of moments, I've captured most of the information that I need. We can, of course, analyze the data. This is a touchpad screen, so I can easily just manipulate and maneuver it. If there's any key areas that I've missed, I can just highlight back over that point, and I can just do a rescan. Nice and simple. We also want to show you another interesting feature with a prime scan. Let's say if you get, a bit of tongue or cheek in the way. I'm going to replicate this with my thumb. So let's try and scan my thumb. The software is that intelligent that it recognizes that the thumb is not a part of the scan, so it won't actually scan it. And this is the same if you get, you get a cheek or your tongue in the patient's tongue in the way. It will automatically know that it's not meant to be there, and it will delete it and not even scan it. So let's scan the upper jaw. I'm going to adopt the same principles, start occlusally, and I'm going to sweep around the palatal aspect, and then back round occlusally, and then again on the buccal aspect as well. So nice and easy, sweeping around the scan, capturing all the data that I need. Now you'll notice there is a pulse sound, and if I slightly go off center or if I stop, it notifies me that I'm not scanning the correct area. So if it starts to make a different sound, you'll notice that, and you'll understand that actually I'm not scanning the area that I need to. So again, you can see in free sweeps, there's relatively small amount of detail that I'm actually missing there, just on that molar and that premolar. So I can simply go back to that point and just rescan it. And then finally, I'm going to scan the buccal aspect. I'm going to do this bilaterally, so it gives me a far more accurate record of the occlusion. So I'm going to scan each side, and if you notice, straight away the upper and lower is ghosted in to that image. So it's got enough reference points to locate and place the occlusion in the correct position. So we're just going to skip to the next stage now, which is the model stage. So in the background, all the data is automatically processing. So while I'm even going through the upper jaw scan, that lower jaw has already completed the processing. And what happens is all the data is processed in the camera. So hopefully you can see the camera just in front of me here. So all the information is processed in the camera itself. It feeds through the lead into the PC, and it's all refined. Okay, so it gives us a really nice, accurate proposal. So depending on the file, the size of the scan you've created, how much data you've collected, it will determine how long this processing time is essentially. So if it's a really big case, then you'll find the processing time will be longer naturally. And I've seen cases which are absolute juggernauts on my demonstrations. We're talking numerous gigabytes. So yeah, this can pick up a lot of information. Think of it like a Hoover, for example. The longer you hold it in one position, it's just going to keep capturing more and more and more data. Okay, and you don't need to keep holding it in the one position. So once it's captured the information, it's captured it. You don't need to stay in that position. Okay, so that's really important to understand when you're going through your scanning protocol. At this stage, what we can do, if we wanted to, I can refine the model, so I can cut the model down and trim it for ease of use with the lab team at SureSmile. Or if I think, you know what, I've looked at both upper and lower and I'm happy with both scans, I can go to the Connect software and I can open up my portal, and I can simply log in and send the case directly to SureSmile. And it's really that easy. Okay, so as you can see, the file is already uploading in the background, and it gives me the opportunity then to enter the order data. So I can enter the patient details, the gender, name, whatnot, and ideal return dates. So it's really that simple to scan and send. And you can utilize a prime scan not just for your aligner workflow, you can use it for your implant restorative workflow or your conventional restorations as well. So there's a multitude of uses for the prime scan, and that's the beauty of it, because it makes your surgery time a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, which I'm sure James would agree with. So from my side, I've scanned and sent the data to SureSmile, and now what we're going to do is move on to Graham, who's going to show you how you can add that 3D data to really create a more realistic and biological achievable result with SureSmile. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand over to Graham.
Hi, thanks, Jamie. That's great. So let me share the screen. Okay, so we've opened up onto Sodexis 4. This is the 3D mode. I've got one of James's scans here. And when he sent it through today, I actually forgot how good our low dose imaging is. It's actually a stunning image. The 3D image here we'd use generally for patient communication. So we've got a nice pan view here. That's easy to demonstrate your patient different areas of the jaw. You've got a 3D reconstructive view over here, which again is ideal for patient communication. If I go into this tab here, a transfer curve editor, we can see it's going to give you various options here. I'm just going to scroll along here, perhaps to this one, the solid one. So it gives you more of an osseous kind of view. Perhaps you could use that when you're talking to your patient. So coming back into here, it's very easy to navigate. So just double click on this particular point and the cursor will jump to that position. And you see all three windows here will correlate with what you've chosen here. And again, to navigate, just hold left mouse button down and it's easy to just move around through the image. So you can see here, just looking through the upper jaw, going down into lower jaw. And even though it's a low dose image, there's lots of information there. So if even it's just not just for orthodontics, but there's information here even for endo. So you wouldn't take this a low dose scan for endo, but there's information here that would actually assist you on looking for any issues or problems before you start your orthodontic treatment. And talking of low dose, looking at the scan here, it's 67 milligrays. If you consider that the dose reference level for a pan is 81 in the UK at the moment, this is a 3D scan at 67, so incredibly low dose and incredibly good image quality. So moving up, we're going to switch on to the CCAT suite software, and I'm actually going to show you how we can merge the data that Jamie showed you earlier. So you can see I've done one already. So this is a STL file added onto our 3D view here. So I'm just going to go up here onto this window. And I'm going to add on a scan. I'm not sure if you can see this. Hopefully you can. So lower jaw. And here we can see the lower jaw view here. Click OK. Just check it's the right one. Click on next. And just going to quickly add a few points. So and click next. And what it will do, it will actually merge the two softwares together. And we just confirm it's OK, and you'll end up with a result that looks like that. A few simple steps there, and you have your overlay from the prime scan. So once you've checked and reported on your image, and you'd want to do that in the NPR view, just going through your image, just checking there's no issues there with this patient, and you're quite happy with it, you can then export it to SureSmile. To do that, you go to Output tab here, and you'll see this screen, and the screen that you want is a DICOM exam export. Check if you're doing referral scans, check with your referrer which type of file they want, whether it's a DCM file or DIR file, DICOM file, and you just click on this box and export it into a folder on your desktop. And the most important thing is to zip it and send that through to SureSmile. It really is as simple as that. The software is so easy to use. Inside about 20 minutes of training, you'll be a ninja using this software. I mean, it's just double click, hold left mouse down, scroll, very easy to navigate. Looking at the filters along here, multiple filters you can use. The ones I would normally recommend using is the sharpen view. One that just hardens up the image a little bit, nice edges on it. Let's click on this window here. So yeah, like so. And the reverse video view is also nice to use. So right clicking on this image here, I can adjust the brightness and contrast automatically. So it does you there. So yeah, so when you're using the software, when you're using these images, remember you've got a lot of digital software here. We can teach you how to use them. Very valuable, I'm sure Jamie will tell you. And yeah, I think that's enough from me. I only have 5 minutes, so yeah, over to you, Libby.
Thank you very much, Graham. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick idea of what the SureSmile software looks like. It was very well demonstrated by James earlier, but just to remind you guys that the SureSmile software, it is a cloud-based software, so doesn't need installing anywhere. You can simply log into it from any laptop, computer or device. We can also add multiple users to the same account, so we can have different dentists working at the same practice, working through the same SureSmile software, and we can also add different sites as well, if you do have different practices. So this is the proposal that's been sent back from the SureSmile lab. It comes back anywhere between 2 to 5 working days, depending on if you do send CBCT data or not. And the first thing you'd want to do is maybe toggle before and after. And as you can see, as James demonstrated earlier, you can see how this is the before and this is after, and those roots have been tucked back into the bone. If you did want to make any changes to the plan, we do have a way of adjusting the plan. So if I just remove the roots and the bone for simplicity and add the soft tissue. So if we just look from, say, an occlusal view, and we want to look at the quality tab, look at cusp tips or marginal ridges, and there was maybe a tooth that you wanted to rotate, you can simply do that by highlighting the tooth of choice. And as you can see, as you start moving the tooth, the software is telling you exactly how much by 0.1 of a millimeter. So you can do that also looking from the labial view. If you did want to do maybe a little bit more extrusion for your patient's smile, the sort of possibilities are endless. Once you're happy, you can then order your aligners from SureSmile, and they take approximately 3 weeks to arrive. So we are a nice, efficient system. So I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen and go onto my presentation to finish off the evening. Is that back on the presentation? Just a thumbs up from you, Graham.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Thank you. So let's look at your digital journey with Dentsply Sirona. So if you didn't know already, we are the largest global infrastructure in dentistry. We're committed to leading education and innovation with proven solutions. And this is to improve efficiency and advance patient care. So let's look at Dentsply Sirona by the numbers. We are the global leading manufacturer of dental equipment across the world. We had a total revenue of about $4 billion in 2019, and we're present in over 40 locations worldwide. Our headquarters are in Charlotte in US. We manufacture most of our equipment in Bensheim in Germany, and we are of course present in the UK, and that is down in Weybridge in Surrey. And I'm proud to be amongst 15,000 other employees at Dentsply Sirona. So our vision is to deliver innovative dental products and solutions to help clinicians and ultimately patients. And we spend over $150 million every year to advance dentistry. We have the largest research and development platform in the industry and over 600 scientists and engineers, ultimately allowing us to develop next generation technology and solutions. So the future of dentistry is digital, and working with Dentsply Sirona will give you every workflow that you need in practice. So please let Dentsply Sirona be your partner of choice on your digital journey. So if you did want to learn more information from what we've covered tonight, you can book an online consultation on our website. And this is for either prime scan, single visit dentistry, Azento, imaging, SureSmile or treatment centres. You can book a 45-minute free one-to-one consultation with one of our specialists. So thank you so much for attending this evening. I hope it added value and I hope it's made you more confident to go into the digital workflow. So I'll now open the floor to any questions for either myself, my colleagues, and James. So what I'll do now is feel free to unmute yourselves. We've got a couple of minutes for questions, and I'll also check the chat box as well.
So we just had a question there, Libby, about CBCT doses, how they compare to PAN doses.
Yep.
If you consider that adult panoramic is probably about 18 to 20 microsieverts, the dose of the scan that James had there was 11 microsieverts. On a standard scan, you'd probably be looking around about 80 microsieverts. So the scan that James showed there, 11 microsieverts, was just about half the dose of a standard PAN. So incredibly low dose and a lot of information, a lot more information.
Thanks for answering that one for us, Graham. I've also just spotted a question about what training do we offer for Sure Smile. So we do a lot of different training courses that you can go on. For an introduction to aligners, we do have an affiliation with the IAS Academy, which we run a course every month. For the more advanced user, James and another fellow clinician, we run slightly more advanced aligner courses with them. We then have ongoing study clubs. We also have webinars like these quite a lot as well that you can log into. And we also have case mentoring and a WhatsApp support group. So hopefully that should be enough to give you more confidence. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I think that's it that's come through on the chat for this evening.